David Haye told 5 Live he has no regrets about his infamous T-shirt featuring the decapitated heads of the Klitschko brothers. The WBA World Heavyweight Champion's been speaking today ahead of his unification bout next month against the IBF and WBO title holder Vladimir Klitschko. Let's talk to our boxing correspondent Mike Costello, who went to South East London to speak to the British fighter. Evening, Mike.
Hello, Mark.
How was Haye? His usual confident self, was he, this afternoon?
I'd say quietly confident, Mark. Very self-assured as ever, and it was a huge turnout today at this media workout. One of the signs that underlines just how big this fight is. And rather than just go through the motions of a training session for the purposes of cameras, as is often the case, Haye had a serious weight session today, working specifically on his arms, and he did look in great shape. And not surprisingly, because in Klitschko he's facing a challenge that's way beyond anything he's taken on in the past. Having said that, the same is true in reverse, in that Haye is more talented than any of Klitschko's previous opponents in 2 separate reigns as world champion across 11 years. It's a fascinating contest, and Haye is well aware it's one that will have a significant influence on how he comes to be regarded in years to come.
No doubt about it. This fight, it doesn't get any bigger than this in boxing. This is the pinnacle of sport. Being the unified heavyweight champion, and to do it on such a big stage. 150 countries are covering this fight. 500 million people apparently are going to be watching this fight. It's going to be enormous, and this is my opportunity to prove to the world that I'm the main man. And I wanted fights like that to prove in the past. I did it at cruiserweight. And now this is my chance to do it at heavyweight, and I've picked a good guy, Vladimir Klitschko, a guy who happens to have most of the titles, a guy who is the big favourite in this fight. You got to do is look at the odds, go to the betting shop and look at the odds. Now I'm an underdog, but I'm used to it. It doesn't faze me. I'm used to being the underdog. I'm used to coming out on top.
You were scheduled to meet Klitschko 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. What do you think has changed about him in the 2 years since, if anything?
He's got more consistent in what he's done before. He's more regular with that jab. He's got a lot of confidence from his wins. You don't get confidence from training camps. You get it from solid wins. And he's been churning out win after win. He hasn't been doing anything too spectacular in those wins, but he's been doing it consistently. And you got to give him credit for that. But since then I'm a completely different person as well. 2 years ago, I was very inexperienced in heavyweight. I had a few tricks up my sleeve with the decapitation head T-shirt. That really riled and that got under his skin. That sort of put me on the map in terms of getting out there to the masses.
He says you now regret that.
I don't regret that at all. I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that T-shirt. He dared me again to wear the T-shirt again, but I've gone one better. I actually got out an iPhone game, David Haye's Knockout, where you can actually play fighting a big Eastern European and punching his head off with that. And I guarantee that's going to get right under his skin. I know for a fact, because they're selling like crazy.
Seems a long time ago that people were saying you were ducking Klitschko.
Yeah, people have their opinions. It never bothered me. I always realised that, the more people said I was ducking him, the more people would have to, eat their words when it comes to fight night. When I knock him out, then all those people said, you're running scared, you're ducking him. What are you going to say now? Oh, you beat him with a lucky punch? No, they're going to have to accept that, I'm the better man, and I'm looking forward to, putting a few ruffles in a few people out there.
Have you downloaded that app, Mike?
No, I haven't. No. But he's been challenging people on Twitter to beat the fastest knockout. I think it's something like 32 seconds at the moment. May have been beaten in the last few hours.
He made this point about the T-shirt on Sports Week on Sunday, which he said to you in the interview, that if he hadn't have worn that T-shirt then and been outspoken, he wouldn't have got noticed. He wouldn't have got the Valuev fight, and that wouldn't have eventually led to what's happening now. But do you think the other side of that is that he's losing the neutral support with his behaviour?
I don't think so, because it was a long time ago. When he pulled that stunt a couple of years ago at a press conference in London, within hours of that happening, we were told by the Germans, and not by Haye's side, that they sold something like 20,000 tickets. So it did work at that stage. And over the course of the next 2 years, Haye, yes, has received criticism for the level of opponents he's been facing, including last time out Audley Harrison, of course, but so too has Klitschko. And it just so happens that these two have carried on winning, and they've built almost towards the top of the pyramid, if you like, of the heavyweight division, and it became a fight that just had to happen. There was too much money at stake for both men to turn it down, and so in the end they decided to get their heads together, and they've come up with this plan that is pretty much 50-50 across the board, and that's why we're seeing this fight, because they've realised that there was so much money at stake. And as Haye has been saying there at the start of that interview you heard there, in a sense, a lot of their legacy is at stake, and how each of these men will be remembered, Haye and Klitschko.
Klitschko's made a big thing, hasn't he, in the last couple of weeks about how he's used to fighting in the arenas, he's used to fighting in Hamburg. He'll be very comfortable with the size of the event. Do you think that'll be the same for David Haye?
I think it will. I mean, it's something I've been speaking to Haye about over the past few months, because he hasn't fought in a big stadium like that, whereas Klitschko's last 3 fights have been in big stadiums. It is a very different situation, but Haye is convinced that once he gets in the ring, it will be like a ring anywhere else in the world. And if you look at Haye's record, actually, when the stakes have been highest, his performance has been best. He's been World Cruiserweight Champion. He won that title away from home. He's been World Heavyweight Champion. He won that title away from home. I'm not saying that to win 2 world titles away from home is unique. It's very, very rare. This is a man who knows that when the stakes are high and when the odds, as he said in an interview, are against him, he seems to produce his very best. I think whatever happens on the night, we can be sure that Haye's performance will be close to his best. Whether it will be good enough, it will be close to his best.
That's our boxing correspondent Mike Costello.